Welcome, everyone. Big show today, an important one for Tesla investors. First, we now have evidence that Tesla's Cybercab robotaxis will not be capped at 2,500 vehicles. It turns out Tesla can produce and deploy as many as they want. Second, Tesla is hiring vehicle operators across multiple European countries, Croatia, Greece, Portugal, Slovenia, along with an electrical design engineer for robotaxi vehicles. And third, Elon Musk has just more than doubled Tesla's order of AI6 chips from Samsung. These millions of chips will have to go somewhere, and it could mean Tesla's accelerating the ramp of Optimus and other AI-powered robots. We got the bulls here with us today. We got the Power Bull, the Queen, Tesla Boomer Mama, Alexandra Merz. We got the Rational Bull, also known as Mr. Incredible, the executive, Jeff Lutz. And we got the Bot Bull, the master forecaster, the slayer of spreadsheets, Cern Basher. Welcome, everybody.
Hi, Herbert.
Hey, Herbert.
Hey.
Okay, so there's a big story that I wanted to share right off the bat. There's a user named GenJP who actually, Gemma JP, he claims, I don't know who he is an anonymous person, claims that he works at the autonomous division for a large auto company. But if you read his research that he does and he publishes, it is clear that he knows what he's talking about. He published some information that then CERN did more research on, and it turns out you don't necessarily need to have this. There's no limit to this number of cybercabs that Tesla could produce. There's no 2,500 limit. Cern, do you want to share what you found?
The company and the product. I don't look at the quarterly stock movement.
A very realistic bull, questioning certain decisions.
The rational bull. I enjoy listening to bears.
Looking for the red flags. You're supposed to react.
The longer-term opportunity for Tesla is like no other company that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think the gist of the findings or our current understanding is that as long as Tesla makes a vehicle that meets all the federal motor vehicle safety guidelines, they can produce them to their heart's content. There's no cap. The only reason they would be subject to the 2,500 limit would be if they asked for an exemption from those federal guidelines for some reason. But it seems like there's a clear pathway for Tesla to essentially self-certify the Cybercab and satisfy all the vehicle safety regulations. Now, there are some safety regulations that on the surface of it, they can't satisfy because the regulation says that you shall have a rear view mirror and side mirrors. While they could put side mirrors on, the rear view mirror is a bit of a problem because there is no window in the back of the Cybercab. So I guess they could put one in, it wouldn't do anything. But that, in my mind, is kind of nitpicking. That's not really a material thing to worry about. One of the biggest things that Gemma found was, and this is old now, this is back from 2022, some changes to the regulations, to the Series 200 part of the regulations, where if you had a vehicle that didn't have a steering column, then the part of the regulation that applies to that is exempt. You don't have to comply with it. What you do have to comply with, though, is the passenger restraint situation for the passenger and then the person sitting behind what was the driving, the driver's side. So it's all about safety. And it seems to be that steps have been taken in the past, some years ago now, to make it a little bit easier for autonomous vehicle companies to comply with the rules.
Yeah, so let me explain, I think, from my understanding of what the whole confusion has been, right? So for so long, not only did we, but many of the Tesla bears would say that Tesla can only produce 2,500 of these autonomous first vehicles, the ones without steering wheels and pedals, because there's a federal law. NHTSA has a law that says 2,500, you can have exemption up to that number. We were hoping that there was a committee that was going to say that we're going to increase that number to 95,000. But if that doesn't happen, Tesla's producing all these Cybercabs, where are they going to go? They're going to be parked in a parking lot. They're going to sit there forever. They're not going to be used because there's a limit of 2,500. What actually, all of us, and you guys pointed out that was a complete misunderstanding. So that 2,500 is true, but it can allow any vehicle, any manufacturer to produce a kind of a vehicle that is just for, to advance any kind of prototype you want to do. You can do 2,500, put it out there. But this new rule that I just showed here in 2022, they actually will allow you as a manufacturer, as long as you pass all safety vehicle use, right, as all the safety certifications, Tesla can produce this without steering wheel, without pedals, and that's perfectly legal. Correct?
That is correct. And we actually did talk about this about 3 months ago, where I explained that the 2,500 limit doesn't concern us. I wasn't by far doing the research work that Genma GP was doing. So let me just clarify what I know about him. I don't know why, but I have the feeling he's French, but that doesn't matter. He's working in Germany for a tier one for mainly German car makers. And he is the key person for ADAS in that tier one provider. So he has published now a number of articles showing how limited they are. And I mean, we're not surprised because Mercedes and BMW have given up their research now on this topic. Who are the typical OEMs that are using the tier one ADAS specialist, him? And that Tesla was the only solution, and that he invested in Tesla heavily privately, and that I think he made a joke saying he hopes his wife never finds out how much of his investment is in Tesla. So anyway, all that to say, he did an incredibly good job in researching this, and then Cern did a very good job in continuing the breadcrumbs into what that now means for the Cybercab production.
I mean, it is good. I think it's good to get clarity. All I'll say is I think Tesla, the plan, almost regardless, is the line starts, it doesn't stop. And if they had to do something, they may have thought of something else, putting things temporarily in the vehicle. We've seen everything from a production perspective, but it's really important that they get to start a production, which it looks like they're at a decent clip in terms of producing internal vehicles for internal use. And then it's really important for them to start and not stop that line. That's the worst thing you can do in production, is start production and then stop. The only reason you want to stop is if you stop yourself, you find a quality issue, you have something. But even that, I mean, you don't want to stop even internally, but you certainly don't want a regulation to stop you. So this is good to see, and I think they're off to a good, promising start. And maybe this time next month or a couple weeks after that, you'll hear an all clear for the start of production or something close to that.
Yeah, these are videos from Joe Tegmeyer. He flies drones around, and he's been showing us that not only is Tesla producing all of these Cybercabs, but they are being put into crash test. And there's a reason why they're doing that, because if you can make sure that these cars, without steering wheel, without pedals, without rear view mirror or the side mirrors, if they can pass full safety compliance, there's nothing stopping Tesla from producing this and rolling them out as robotaxis. And so that's why, sorry, here you go. These are all being prepared for compliance testing, crash testing. Thank you for Joe Tegmeyer for this information.
It's interesting too, Herbert. Back in 2022, Zoox, which is owned by Amazon, they announced that they had self-certified their vehicle. And here it is here on the screen. And you can see that the way the passengers sit, they're facing each other. And this is something that right now in the regulations is not expressly allowed. Actually, it's expressly not allowed. But they self-certified their vehicles. And then 9 months later, NHTSA came back to them and said, hey, wait a second, we have some issues with this. It also turns out that publicly they were suggesting that they weren't compliant with the rules, but yet they had said that they had self-certified. So they ran into a little bit of trouble. After about 3 years of dialogue with NHTSA, they actually finally did get an exemption for their vehicle, because again, it's not in compliance with the rules. So they had to get an exemption. To me, it seems clear that Tesla at least has a pretty solid pathway to become compliant with essentially all of the motor vehicle rules, or the ones that matter, the safety ones anyway. Again, whether there's a rearview mirror doesn't seem like it's that important.
Yeah, and I do recall there is a big announcement on autonomous vehicles by NHTSA on the 20th of March in 2 weeks, right?
10th of March. 4
10th
days
of
from now.
March. Okay. Oh wow. So let's
Mhm.
wait for that.
So do you guys remember, Alexandra and Jeff, a couple of years ago, we had a big bet. Remember that one? And the bet was, well, we had a couple bets, but the big one was, I said, I really think that Tesla will create before we saw the Cybercab, and I said, I think it's going to look like a London cab. It's going to look like a Zoox, right? Elevator doors, people facing each other. And then you guys said it'll look like like what Cybercab ended up looking like, just a normal car.
So we were right, right?
Yes.
What did we end up winning? I forgot. I haven't received it yet.
Well, if I need to remind you, Jeff.
We're still waiting.
If I need to remind you, it's a wash because I beat you on the other bet, the big one, the first one that we made. I won that one, which was you guys said that they were going to roll it out.
The one you
that Tesla owners would be able to put their cars in first before Tesla would roll out their own car robotaxi network. I won that bet. You guys won this one. I've got all the recordings.
I don't remember it. I don't remember.
That was the first one.
Winning it.
Okay. So this was what happened when I think in the book, Walter Isaacson, Elon said, okay, I want to have a first principles. I want to create a car that is first designed for robotaxi, which is something like this, right? Doors open, facing each other. But then they decided, hey, you can't do that. Let's just create a regular car in case regulation. That's what happened. And so they were smart because Zoox came out with this model and they can only get the 2,500 exemption. They have not passed the safety concerns because like this is a whole different kind of vehicle.
Okay.
That makes sense?
I was missing this. Yeah. I was missing this. Please all read Retro-Engineered by Herbert, who is trying to put pieces together. Okay.
No, that's why I was wrong, because I think that that's what happened. So that Tesla chose to just go with a regular car so that they can pass all these safety requirements, which is what they did. That was why they made that decision.
You're arguing how you were wrong, but you should have been right. That's what you're trying.
No, that's not what I'm doing. I'm saying that's why Tesla made the decision. But yeah,
you see all three of us super convinced. Jeff, certainly super convinced.
I mean, they're going to do the RoboVan, which is similar to this, and they'll do that later. But to get something out, let's just choose a regular car, get that passed, and that's why they did that.
Because you feel the Cybercab is a regular car?
Yeah, it looks like a regular car in the sense that it's got the crumple zone in front. You got passengers facing only forward. That kind of things they've already got settled and they can pass that sort of safety certification. But this one, when you got passengers facing backwards, you don't have the crumple zones. It's a lot more complicated.
I just think we looked at the video or the picture of Franz standing next to the wooden model and said that's what they're probably going to build.
Yeah.
And you said it would be something else, and that was wrong, like always. But did you just see how he tried to tell the story as if he won it?
No, I actually said I lost. No, I said that's what I said. I said that's why that's the reason I lost is because I really thought they were going to create a Cybercab for robotaxi first designed vehicle, but this explains why they decided not to go that route, and it was the right choice, of course.
I missed it, Herbert. I really missed this.
Okay,
Herbert, just a footnote on the Zoox situation too. The agency's focus, as I understand it, was on occupant positioning and crashes, right? Again, the issue of people facing each other. They were not satisfied with, I guess, the data that Zoox had shared with them about how to protect those passengers. They were also concerned about the airbag deployment logic in terms of how all that works, right? I think they probably feel like there's a lot more research that needs to be done around that when you have, passengers not looking where they're going. And then the emergency egress issues with that type of vehicle. So, this is very functional, very practical safety stuff that they were worried about. Again, not the position of mirrors or whether or not there was a steering column and pedals, right? So the agency, to me, seems like they're focused on the right things. And they've made some attempts at sort of modernizing these rules. They just haven't gone all the way yet. And I highly doubt that Elon and Tesla would run full speed ahead with the Cybercab program if they had any doubt in their mind that they would be stopped along the way by, no, you have to have a rear view mirror in your car, right? Like silly rules like that.
That's what I was saying. Like production is going to start, and I think you're right, Cern, that they had some level of certainty prior. But I think people should realize that Tesla's building liability right now because they've had components on order for 4 months or more, 5 months, especially on the electricals and the semis. and then all the mechanicals, like there's a lot of money flowing in right now in terms of component inventory liability. So they've got to get going. But it's not, I mean, they probably didn't plan a lot. They probably planned hundreds of, maybe a few thousand vehicles in April, and then it's going to get a lot bigger. So I think the interesting thing here now is to think about this convergence of, okay, well, you theoretically have the car ready. Well, what software is going in the car? And has that whole thing been flushed out? And you see there's 25 or more cybercab tests. I mean, they're out there really testing this thing in terms of road testing in earnest. And I think it's going to be close. I mean, this is the thing with what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with heuristic software where you've got a fixed bug rate. This is like when you're developing products and you're doing generational spins of product, whether it's kind of iterative. And even if you're doing a new silicon, new chipset, and you look at that bug rate in software and you look at the severity of those bugs, and you know the size of your team and you know how quickly you can work through those software defects, those bugs, and you can kind of quantify where the ship date's going to be. This is a whole new ball game. I think Tesla knows that they're on the putting green right now and they're getting close between getting more and more unsupervised ramped up. But, you know, there could be some variation around this. And I think it's fine. There's no expectation that, you know, if they start production on whatever, April 15th, that April 16th, a Cybercab comes out of the tunnel and it drives into Austin, it's in service. You know, there can be a little bit of room around this. Let them build up some inventory. Let them work through some issues. But, you know, we're in this window now, the spring, where you'd like to see this convergence and you'd like to see Cybercabs starting to pick people up.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously have room for 2,500 for which they can do all experiments they want, because that rule exists no matter what. Would we know whether?
No,
Would we know?
Cern can explain it, but as Tesla has not applied for that exemption.
Oh, okay. But would we know when they get certified? Would we know, you know, is there a website where they would suddenly be in a list as being road ready, or how would we learn about that?
It's a sticker that goes on the car. So if the manufacturer is comfortable putting that sticker on the car, then they are self-certified.
And this is the one that's inside the door when you open the door, that sticker, or where would the sticker be?
Good question. I'm not sure specifically. Perhaps Jeff knows that.
It typically would be in the door jamb, but it's fine.
Okay.
It's going to be somewhere in the vehicle. They'll self-certify.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be huge.
The thing about the 2500, by the way, it's an exemption that you have to apply for.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole process associated with it. So it's not, oh, they've got 2500 they can go to without any questions asked. No,
Okay.
actually, just as denied companies that have applied for an exemption. Actually, a Honda partnered with GM applied for one of their vehicles. It looked very much like the Zoox vehicle, and it was not approved.
Mm-hmm.
The other part of it is too, if Tesla had applied for it, that would be public knowledge that they'd applied. Maybe not all the information around the application would be made public, because Tesla may say, well, we've got some, you know, trade secrets in here we don't want to disclose. But the fact that they have applied, I think, would be public knowledge. And to me, again, the fact that they haven't, or at least that we know of, we don't believe they have.
Very confident.
Shows the confidence level that they can certify this vehicle as a roadworthy vehicle per all the motor vehicle safety laws, that they're not asking for any exemption.
One more thing before we leave this topic. I think we can move on. But this is a different launch for Tesla and for any other auto company, because they're building, and they themselves are the initial customer. So there are going to be some differences. There's some chances they can take. There's some things that they can do, and I don't know, maybe some of these things are handled differently. The fact that it's not sold to consumers, I don't know, but it'd be an interesting thing. I'll go do some research on that. But anyway, this is a different kind of launch, and I think it's actually good for Tesla, because if there's a problem, you know, you're literally recalling yourself. You have them.
Okay. So thank you, Cern. Thank you to Genma. Thank you to Joe Tegmeyer. Cern and those guys did a lot of work. He dug into the actual bill or information here that was in 2022. and basically shared that, Tesla can just create a car and make sure that it's pass all the safety certification, and they can roll out as many Cybercabs as they want. It doesn't matter if it doesn't have a steering wheel or pedal. There's a reason why Tesla did not apply for that exemption, because they don't need it. And there's a reason why they are just going full bore, creating as many Cybercabs as they can, as fast as they can. And it's slow. It's going to be slow, but now they're going.
But can you imagine the competition? You know, who can do anything even halfway comparable?
Yeah.
Nobody.
But the market for two-seater cars is small, don't you know?
Oh, excuse me, don't. I saw that. In the little things I saw, I did see that. Yeah.
Okay. So we do have to talk about the elephant in the room, which is
Painfully learned something on that. The market for large phones without a keyboard was small at the time too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on.
The market for large phones without keyboards was very tiny. And then people are going, yeah, that must mean it's not going to work. But okay, we'll see what happens. So the elephant in the room is that Cybercab or the Robotaxi rollout seems to be slow. There's only 8 that has been spotted with the 8 different license plates that are being used for unsupervised. And then while we're seeing it grow to 430, 4 plus, most of them are still supervised. So that's the big question. And Cern, Jeff, did you have a comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's coming up a lot on X. I think people are talking about it. And I'm not going to rehash the discussion I went through 15 minutes ago, but this is not deterministic. It's not heuristic software. Not an excuse. I think Tesla knows that they're close, but it's better for them. It's better for them to honestly get it right than to go early. But I think it's really important though too, to be open about where you're at. I don't think they owe anybody. By the way, before iPhone ships in September, do you think Tim Cook's out there in August talking about the bug rate of his software on iPhone 18? No. And there's tens of millions of people lined up to want to buy that. So I think just understand, like, there's no template for this. This hasn't shipped before. Nobody's shipped a vision-only end-to-end neural network vehicle with no driver in it at this cost structure. So I've always said that there's going to be some variation around this. Could be 30 to 90 days. And I think they're still in that window. I did say they did get, if you look at the end of February, they did get pretty close. They needed to get closer to 500. And it's, about 436 vehicles. That's, they're not all active. By the way, we found holes in how this tracking happens. I think the tool's good. I think that everything, it's a good effort. But so I think where we sit today is we want to see some relative improvement in the number of vehicles. We want to see some relative growth in unsupervised. And my guess is they're between 2 releases where they want to solve a series of edge cases and potentially any remaining use cases that are open. I will give you one quick example of an edge case of, the school bus sign. My car's stopping beautifully when that sign comes out. It's working perfectly. However, if that school bus is perpendicular to you and that sign is closed, sometimes the car sees that as a stop sign. And even though it's not been pulled out. So there's things like that they've got those edge cases that they've got to work through. And I think that's where we are today. And they're between working through some of those final edge cases. So we'll see. But I don't think I'll leave you with this. I don't think we're going to remember this period 12 months or 18 months from now, because the volume of vehicles and the rate of vehicles coming out of the factory driverless at that point in time, we won't remember if it was 436 or 836 at this point in time, 8 driverless or 30 driverless. We won't remember that. So startup, but again, not making excuses, but we really want to see this play out. I think this next 30 to 60 days are pretty critical.
So a couple of points I want to make. One is the Robotaxi tracker says, 430 Robotaxis, Tesla Robotaxis, and they do that by tracking license plates. Brian Wang did an analysis, and he said that this tracker is undercounting not only Tesla, but also Waymo by 30%. It says that Waymo only has 130 cars out there in Austin when they themselves have said we have 200. Tesla, Elon and Ashok said that we have 500 robo-taxis already out there. Of course, different times of day and all that. But then why would they say that on an earnings call if that's not what they have? Meanwhile, the robo-taxi trackers has 430. So there is something missing here in terms of what they're tracking. Secondly, I think the reason why they've not rolled this out, it's like, yeah, there's the edge cases that you're talking about, Jeff, but the actual thing is that what happened in January, December, January, there was 5 incidents where the Tesla had to report to NHTSA of what happened with their robo-taxis. What happened when those 5 incidents occurred? Headline news, global. And in fact, the headline that everybody said was Tesla is 4 times as worse, Tesla's robotaxi, as human drivers. When you dig a little closer, what are these 5 incidents that happened in January? 4 of them were under 4 miles per hour. They were fender benders. The 5th one was 17 miles per hour, but it also was a fixed pole. These are issues that all of us face when you're just trying to park the car and you sometimes misjudge it and you hit the little thing by a mile, 1 mile per hour, 2 miles per hour. This is nothing. I'm hoping that in February, when the new results come out, it's going to be cleared. That's been resolved, because even just a tiny thing like that, it's amplified. And so they said, let's slow it down. Let's make sure that we have, all of it wrapped up so that we have near zero. It will not be zero, but it will be near zero incidents, and it'll be less of an issue. And I think that's what's happening.
I think all this counting too of vehicles, Waymo could have announced 200, but that's an announcement. You don't deploy them all in the first day. I'm sure they were scaling them up and putting them out there in batches as they approved them locally. So anyway, that's how these operations work. But once the number gets really big, this becomes less of an issue. We just got to get to that point.
It's easier to count the Waymos too, because they're often stuck blocking traffic.
They're not moving. They're there. All right. Next thing to look at is a lot of new hires, but for robotaxi and autonomous driving. But guess where they're being hired? That's like all over Europe. Here is an electrical design engineer for robotaxi autonomous vehicles being hired by Tesla, based in Berlin. And look at all these vehicle operators. But weird, look at these European countries: Croatia, Greece, Portugal, Slovenia, and of course, Netherlands.
Wait. What do you mean weird? It's not because you don't know them that they're weird?
What I mean by weird is that these countries have not been mentioned before. Like you would think Germany,
okay, pronounce
Italy.
The one. Come on, pronounce.
Which one? This one? I don't know. I guess. I don't even know it. You tell me. You live there, right?
No.
You live there. What is it?
Ljubljana.
But these aren't the announced ones. Like it's not Italy, France, Germany. Those ones we know that they're doing the ride-alongs, and then they keep expanding those countries. These are like new ones that I was aware of. So what does this mean? Vehicle operators to start possibly getting either ride-alongs or FSD approval. So this is all good news. And of course, the other big thing that happened was in Giga Berlin. Giga Berlin, the IG, how do you say it? IG Metall?
IG Metall.
IG Metall. Oh, I love your accent. IG Metall. They are the union. They lost the vote. And they actually fell from 40% of support, the union share, to 31% in 2026. And this is Andre Thierig, who is the plant manager for Giga Berlin, saying this is great news, because what did Elon say when Andre interviewed him? Elon said that if the people, the employees, first of all, and the people of Germany and the government approve this, or not this particular vote, but just in general approve of Tesla, he will make Giga Berlin the largest factory in Europe, and we will roll out Optimus, Cybercab, and Semi there as well. So this clears the way for something like that.
And we're doing this with quite a delay. Remember, the expansion of Giga Berlin was supposed to happen already last year. So lots of things have been delayed. I think there are good reasons to delay it. And actually, I think the current geopolitical situation confirms that. There's a lot of investment currently happening from Tesla in the United States and soon in space, who knows? But I think they are very prudent on where they will do more. The good news for Europe is that Berlin is the one and only place they want to invest. Remember, 2-3 years ago, we were wondering where they would put the megapack factories. None of that happened. Absolutely nothing happened. The factory in Mexico didn't happen. And all that proved to be correct. All that proved to be correct. And I do believe there's still time to sit out before Tesla makes these decisions to expand anywhere, including Berlin.
This makes sense, putting all the products. Yeah, these are Tesla's new platforms. So they've got the Model Y there already. So Tesla's going to build a humanoid platform and a product, and they're going to put that there. They're probably going to move the 4680 there, since they've shrunk the operation with the dry battery electrode, getting rid of all of the wet processing before that. So battery platform, semi-platform, humanoid platform, cybercab platform. It makes sense to do that. These are all things that'll resonate too with that populace, just like it would in the US. So this makes sense. This gets back to, again, Tesla's localized manufacturing. So that would be in the European Union, minimize tariffs. And I think over time too, it'll make sense to build these things in Asia. I know there's a big debate about us building our bots in Asia, and we'll see where that goes. I think there will be conversations about that. The same way that right now you see the government wanting to be in the middle of where our AI chips go. And by the way, I think that was misread. I don't think they're gonna be overly restrictive. I just think they want a process where there's an understanding, because as we see, these chips, can be weaponized for the battlefield.
I completely agree. And we had a little bit of this discussion this morning, Jeff and me. I do believe there is a decoupling happening from China. And Tesla is also doing that. Do understand that currently 50% of production capacity, if it would be at full capacity, and 50% of real production is in China. Yet the revenues on these cars is about 22% of the results, right? Just because there are lower asking prices in China. Currently, very much focused on Model 3, Model Ys, and Megapacks now. So 95% of the production in China is with local suppliers, but then a good chunk, about a third of the production is exported to Europe, a little bit to Canada and other countries. So I do believe that Tesla and Elon have taken the decision to even localize this more and to actually make these whole pathways even more regional and less dependent, that if there would be, and this could be the result of the current geopolitical situation, if there could be a further decoupling from the Western allies and China, that Tesla USA and Tesla Europe would be more standalone, less dependent. I mean, the United States is already not dependent on China, or a little dependent on China, more for the batteries, but that this is all going to happen on a more localized basis.
Scary.
It's not,
Well,
but, I was thinking this through. I was, and this comes with me in waves over the last 6 years. How dependent are we from Tesla China, right? How important is it, and how risky is it? Meaning, how political can it get, and what would be the impact immediately on Tesla? And years have gone by, and Tesla China is standing and working and being profitable and having amazing results and having the most efficient factory of all. And so my worries have always been calmed. Now, is my worry currently still going to have the same exact? Well, maybe or not. But anyway, we're already much further in that curve. We've already optimized and benefited a lot from Tesla China. And I do hope that it just continues like that. But even if it does not, Tesla's future is much more built, if you look at everything that has been announced, is much more built on the United States and space. And, I'm still convinced that this merger will happen. I do believe in the not so far distant future, Tesla's product and Tesla's services will be much more profitable and used in the United States and then probably in Europe. That all depends on how geopolitics works out, than for the rest of the world.
I study that. I mean, I'm in this space a lot, and there's a lot of decoupling. The way I would view it is, I think you brought this up appropriately, Alexandra. There's decoupling, strategic decoupling occurring, but Tesla is very interested in still having that localized, 97% locally sourced China presence, as long as that locally sourced 97% China presence can function properly. And there's honestly no overt or open threats to that right now. I mean, China loves Tesla. Tesla does well in China. It's an export hub for them. They love the exports. They love the stability with the supply base that Tesla gives them. So the way I would view this is, Tesla China will go as long as Tesla China can go. But the question is every other factory that Tesla makes, the percent of material that would have to flow through a China or Taiwanese dependency, that is under the microscope. And Elon is on record saying that others may not be taking this as seriously as I think they should. And I agree with him on that. And it starts with what we're doing with the silicon, and Tesla's already there in terms of product assembly. There's going to be critical, you hear about the rare earth things. You're going to hear about, there's other things. I mean, for the U.S. to decouple from, it's its own episode. It's going to take a number of years for the U.S. to fully have any kind of decoupling. There's a lot of dependencies, by the way, in both directions. Exactly. And by the way, just not to get too far in the geopolitics, but in the last 6 months, I actually see more convergence and less divergence. But that doesn't, this supply chain planning, these are things you do over 2, 5, and 10-year horizons. It doesn't mean that you don't continue the strategic decoupling over the 2, 5, and 10. It'd be great if the U.S. and China relationship just continues to improve. I think you're going to see, my prediction is you're going to see some fairly big announcements at the end of the month when the two leaders meet.
Exactly. And that was actually the point that we wanted to bring up. So in 3 weeks, President Trump is going to China. This is the first presidential visit since his 2017 presidential visit there. This was planned months ago, but obviously is now going to be influenced if that epic fury Middle Eastern situation continues, is going to be predominantly, I think, influenced by that current situation, because the consequence is that there is less petroleum, less oil currently brought to China, and China is heavily dependent still on it. So I do believe the leverage the US has is higher. I agree with Jeff that I don't think President Trump is somebody who wants to stop merchandising. I think he is a wheeler dealer, always has been, and just wants to get the best deal for the United States. I'm just thinking of me as the Tesla investor, always thinking, what is the good? And I see so much good, I'm still all in on it. And what are the potential risks? And Tesla China got a little bit hotter in my risk assessment these last couple of days, just because I think, okay, keep an eye on that. Let's see where we're going. But I do believe Tesla is managing it as well as possible by localized supply chains, by profiting from the export window they currently have. And then it's a lot of politics where they have to play it when it comes. Like, remember last year we had a quarter, we lost 400 million just because of tariffs. Those are things you cannot manage until the moment it's thrown on you and you have to pay for it.
Yeah, I like what you said earlier, Alexandra, that this is not any longer, is a big issue. It's a concern for Tesla investors, but it's no longer existential as it was before. And especially as we move forward where we're going with Robotaxi, which we never expected that Tesla's Robotaxi was going to have much of a presence in China anyways, because they've got their own competitors.
And certainly
And then-
not margin the same way
and
good for margin here.
Not the same margin as they would here anyways. And robots. It's not like we would expected that Optimus was going to take over China, because obviously it's a strategic concern for Chinese government. They've got their own Chinese robot companies. And so as Tesla moves forward with AI chips, as they go with AI data centers, robots, and Robotaxi, it's not as dependent as China when we were first just a car company selling cars.
Completely agree. And I would like to ask Cern, if you would have to extract of your Excel spreadsheets and your wonderful prognostic, the whole of Tesla China, if you would just say, okay, this is it, they closed the door. I mean, again, I don't predict that. I just want to have a worst case scenario. How much do you think this is an impact in 5 to 10 years?
Oh, negligible in 10 years.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's not going to matter. It matters now, great deal. I think what's interesting is that we're seeing this decline, or maybe even the eventual demise, although that's probably too strong of a word, of the multinational corporation. I don't think it's the demise, but certainly the decline, right? We're looking at companies now being sort of more domiciled in their nations, certain nations, and that decoupling that Jeff talks about. But what's interesting is this is coming at a time when we are on the verge of perhaps the first multiplanetary corporations. Now, we're a little bit too early for that, right? We're not quite there yet, but certainly on the moon, activities on the moon, or at least out in space. It doesn't have to be on another planet. And the growth opportunities there are unlimited. And you probably
And not
don't
taxed. And not taxed.
Well, not yet.
No tariffs, no
Yeah.
geopolitical. What would you call that? It's no longer
The Wild West.
Look, they will come up
you
with
can't
an
say the Wild
escaping
West.
Earth.
It's
They
the
will
wrong
come
term.
up with an escaping Earth's orbit tax. That will happen
You mean
in
the
a
French?
nanosecond.
You mean the French will come
They'll start with the French, then they'll move over here. But I have nothing against the French, by the way. I want to make, I think one thing, just in my opinion, the U.S.-China relationship, if you look at it a year ago in March, was ramping up again. The rhetoric was going in the wrong direction, and it got kind of hot, especially in April, May, June. But I truly believe this doesn't replace the strategic decoupling conversation, but I actually think in the near term that we're on the other side of that curve, and it's trending more and more positive. It doesn't mean you don't do the strategic work, but I actually think for the near term, I think there's going to be this period of potentially peak cooperation, actually. Because if the U.S. does some introspective looks here, they'll realize that it's going to take a while for us to get all this automation ramped up, to get robotics ramped up, to get AI manufacturing ramped up. Why wouldn't you still have some of these good import relationships while you're doing it? So you don't have, you create an inflation problem if you don't have enough supply in your country.
Yes. And I mean, especially since their leverage increased. Their leverage increased with Venezuela. Their leverage increased probably soon with Cuba, certainly with the Middle East, if it goes the way they think this will go. So the US leverage in this discussion has certainly increased. And I think it was you who sent me today the fact that they're considering ordering Boeings, right? The Chinese. So I think there is, an understanding of a more needed mutual trade to keep everybody happy and to be in the current situation, which is actually beneficial to the US. But I also wanted to have, and we had this, and to a very good point, wanted to have this discussion. Careful, Tesla China, but even if it would come, which I don't expect, to the worst case scenario, within 5 to 10 years, it's negligible.
And I think too, if there's one company to worry about less vis-a-vis China, it's Tesla. Elon has shown a remarkable ability to navigate that relationship.
Oh yeah, I mean, he never criticizes them. He never gets into. I mean, and like he admits himself, how many stupid tweets has he put out there? But never when it comes to China. I completely
never
agree.
when it comes to China.
And China's copying Tesla and Elon, and Elon has said that they are the ones that are just, whatever we do, they're doing it, and so they really look to Elon as
an idol. Yeah.
as an there's a proper word for it. Okay, wow, great conversations. That was a big one. The third thing that happened this week is Tesla seems to be hiring or doubling how many Samsung orders that they're doing. But first, it started off with this post by Elon. He said Tesla will be one of the companies to make AGI, and probably the first to make it humanoid, atom-shaping form. There's a lot here to talk about. First of all, it's a bit of a surprise. Well, maybe not surprised, but everybody assumed that XAI is the one who makes Grok. That's the one that's going after AGI. I mean, Elon has said that the autonomous cars are baby AGI, but he said, no, Tesla will be one of the companies to make AGI. And then he said, probably the first to make it in humanoid form. That we understood. Then he said, atom-shaping form. Who wants to jump on this one first? You look like Jeff.
I'm going to try to summarize this succinctly. I think the physical AI is actually going to get there first. It may be Tesla vehicle, probably a Tesla vehicle. Certainly the humanoid will get there. And I'm actually, I have an article I'm publishing on this. I think people should really do some very close introspection of what's out there as AI products, because these private companies are driving $300 billion to $800 billion valuations. And you've got public companies that are in the trillions, and they're producing a product that has an extremely high error rate to it. And if you wanted to look up articles and summarize this for me or do that, it's pretty good. But when you wanted to do some tax calculations, some interconnected things, it'll produce nice looking charts, it'll produce nice looking tables. But when you go through and you actually thumb through the logic, I'm finding 5 to 10% error rates in using this product. And the only point I will make, and it's all of them, and the only point I would make on that is, and by the way, while their capabilities are expanding rapidly, you see the announcements every 3 or 4 days from Anthropic about what they're able to do. But if you look under the hood and say, well, how effective are they? Like, how good is the product? What's the error rate of it? I think it's an unacceptable error rate. I think it's to the point where you could potentially make a lot of bad decisions. Again, if you're doing straightforward math, straightforward coding, I think there's a lot of value. But when you have this complex thinking, reasoning, the reasoning part comes in, there's real problems. Well, I'll leave you with, why am I bringing this up? When you're driving in your Tesla, every mile, that's photons in the cameras, and it's going through that local inference computer. And of course, all the work that was done training that Tesla AI engineering product has an infinitesimal error rate. If you think of, there's probably millions, if not billions, of instructions that are going from the cameras and then through the controls of the vehicle every millisecond. If the product would not work, you couldn't put it on the road if it had the same error rate as these chatbots do. So the point is I think these AIs are fundamentally architected. Of course, they're architected differently. They serve completely different purposes, but they're architected at completely different quality and performance levels. And I think Tesla AI should be Tesla gets a great valuation for the company. I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying, in the world of AI products that are out there shipping, there is nothing like it with this low of error rate than this product relative to these other products that are out there you can buy. It's strikingly different.
If FSD was like a large language model, it would drive on the wrong side of the road and it would say it's fine, it's allowable to do that, right? There'd be examples like that where it would just blatantly lie to you.
But then apologize. Oh, sorry, I got it wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. And that's obviously unacceptable.
And I'm just thinking of just raw efficacy. If I asked the chatbot to do 1,000 things, how correct were the 1,000 things in the response? Yeah. And there's a productivity thing here, right? Because it's going to do the 1,000 things faster. But if I make mission critical errors while we're doing that,
exactly.
That's not a good thing. Those same 1,000 instructions in the Tesla vehicle, I mean, it's going to be, we know what the error rates are. It's just they're literally, they're in different universes right now in terms of
I agree
performance and
with you.
capability.
Yeah, I agree with you. I still wonder when I tell people, well, large language, it's fine. I love it. I use it in my job. My kids use, everybody uses it. But it's words hanging one word after the other. All have pulled their information from the same web clusters that they could download and malax and then weigh certain words and certain follow-up words and whatever. And there we have it. And it's working well. But you compare that to my car that I put an address in and drives me. I mean, it just, like you said, it's two universes. It has nothing to do.
Yeah.
And you say the same thing. I was just wondering, we have to stop looking at these EV statistics. I mean, for Model Y is winning anyway. We should do autonomous vehicle statistics. That is what counts. Intelligent cars, smart cars. And you will see there's nobody for years to come.
Yeah, it's understanding context. So that's a big difference, right? So LLMs, you can trick it all you want, and it won't understand a simple context of what it exactly it's doing. There's a famous one. Was it the I think the person asked 4 of the different AIs, and it said something like, I want to take my car for a car wash. The car wash place is only 10 meters away. What's the fastest way for me to get there? And all of them said, you should just walk. And well, if you walk, obviously you can't use your car wash, right? You got to understand the context. So I think actually Grok was the only one that actually understood that trick, and it didn't beat it. But in a car, it understands the context. It actually knows what's going on, that is fog, and fog I can drive through. It actually knows it's fog. It knows it's a fire hydrant. It knows that is an emergency vehicle, and therefore I need to walk away. It's not programmed. It wasn't like, oh, I hear this sound. If I hear that sound, I move to the right. That's not what's going on. It's like understanding where, what's actually happening, like a human would. And
because
so
it's vision, because it's vision to action. It's neural nets. It's not hanging letters after other letters. It's
a neural net, but it's not. Yeah, it has to, in order to perform in the real world, it needs to understand the context of it, not just labeling it, which is what they did before.
And I want to understand, because you all know much more about the competitors on bots. How do other bot companies get information to feed those bots? Because obviously Tesla is using the FSD experience of learning.
Well, they don't have access to the data, right? That's they don't have access to data.
So what do they do?
They feed it YouTube videos, and the YouTube videos are the ones that kind of like there's a group of people who believe that just the videos alone, you don't have to have real world, just videos alone, you could be able to teach it things. But that's where Elon said, well, there's a difference between, let's say if I'm having my cup and I'm pouring water into the cup, I can see with my eyes what's actually happening to that water inside the cup, and that's physics that you can't get that video from YouTube videos. Not many of them anyways, to be able to teach it that. So that's why he's announced we're going to have 20 to 30,000 humanoid bots. I'm going to make as many as fast as I can. They're going to be in a playground, probably in Giga Texas factory. They're going to be playing with real world stuff like kids would do, and they can actually drop things. And, other companies are doing simulation, and they think that by simulation, that's enough, and they can prove there's a certain amount of simulation that you can actually then one-shot it, put into the real world, and it can actually do it. But being able to, what he calls closing the sim to real gap, which is there's only so much you can do with simulation.
Yeah.
You need to actually physically do it, and then learning that, and then that teaches you to make better simulations, and then that just gets you accelerated. So
they use LiDAR? They use LiDAR then for their, or?
No. Almost all the bot companies are all that's the other funny thing. Is like if LiDAR was needed, why would you not have a LiDAR in the bots? None of them use LiDAR in the bots. You don't need it.
It's a funny thought to think that there are bots training on watching Herbert's videos.
No. They're watching us.
Okay, good. Just real quick, this relates to the first part of the show here about the motor vehicle safety regulations. The regulations never contemplated being able to talk to your car and give instructions. There's nothing in the regulations that ever contemplated that. And that's really what Tesla's on the cusp of now, is being able to actually talk to the vehicle, not only give it directions, but have a conversation with it and actually understand what the vehicle is, quote unquote, thinking. All right. So again, think about the vehicle as being this intelligent being. The other thing too, just on the topic of AGI and humanoids, the bot is a really interesting thing because like the car, it can navigate in the real world, and that's pretty cool. But even more than the car, it can manipulate the real world in ways that help it learn. The bot can conduct its own experimentation, just like we do when we're kids. We drop things and we learn firsthand what gravity is. And oh, if I drop that brick on my foot, it's going to hurt. The bot's going to learn some of those same things by itself, but a whole lot faster than humans ever could. Particularly since a bot learning somewhere, anywhere in the world, learns something, then it's the rest of the fleet knows that tomorrow. So once they get some sort of scale on this, the rapidity of bot learning is going to be staggering. FSD has been relatively quick, but you ain't seen nothing yet when it comes to humanoid bots learning.
Jeff, can you answer this question? Like, look at the last sentence, okay? Probably the first to make AGI in humanoid / atom shaping form. What do you think?
It's
atom
only
shaping
one
form is?
sentence, so there's no last sentence.
Well, I think it's. I
Thank
actually
you.
think. I actually think there are a number of ways to interpret that, but it's basically another kind of robot that has a brain and can function independently. So the humanoid's in humanoid form, but I've talked about this and I've written about it extensively. Manufacturing AI is essentially putting the optics in the brain in every piece of equipment. Because what you want your equipment to do is you want it to see and self-correct. And you want it to never make an error. If it makes an error, fix it. If it's not going fast enough, it'll to know that and to accelerate. And you also want it to contain defects in the phase that's doing the production in. Like there's so many different things. This is why when people say like, oh my God, there's a bubble coming, and maybe it's a digestion phase for AI, and you see all the hyperscalers are at $650 billion of spend. I'm like, this is not stopping anytime soon because we haven't done anything. We've done Tesla driverless cars and chatbots that have a high error rate. So we need chatbots that are at AGI super intelligence, and we need a lot more driverless cars so we don't injure or kill hundreds of thousands of people when you group the two together. And we're not even close. And then we haven't talked about medicine. We haven't talked about manufacturing. We haven't talked about so many different things where AI can be used. So the atom shaping form to me are robots and other forms that can get all the way down to, lithography equipment to make chips, maybe.
Yeah, somebody asked Grok, what did Elon mean by this? And they went as far as Grok said, you can actually like place atoms where you want to be able to create food, to create a new element, to create metal, to create any 3D form, what do you want? So it's crazy. Okay. Why did Tesla and Elon just now actually ask Samsung to not only double, almost triple the number of wafers that they had originally asked them for? So they've now asked and placed an additional order for AI6, 24,000 new wafers per month. That brings a total to 40,000 wafers per month. This is AI6. It's going to be crazy, but look at that. They're asking for more. And I think Larry Goldberg was doing the thing. He goes, if that's a wafer, that's like, I don't know, I can't remember how many, no, he said how many chips per wafer, but it's going to be in the millions per month if you have 40,000 wafers per month. It's like, whoa, it's going to use it for Dojo, FSD, Robotaxi, Optimus. I mean, Elon has just now increased the requirement.
Yeah, and all I'll say on this is, as the forecaster of the requirement, Elon has certainty because he's using it in 3 different places. Right now, we don't have an example of anybody planning for a single chip used in 3 different distinct major product lines, where if one product is late, one product has a supply issue, one product has a demand issue, you're still taking the parts. And so I think people should understand what this is. There's no AI6 part. The design hasn't been released, so there's no order for that part. This is reservation capacity for a facility to produce wafers, and they've done some theoretical planning on how many components per wafer, what the wafers would actually look like. There's probably some this is capacity reservation at this point. But if you're Samsung, you love it because it's coming from Elon, and he's got 3 different homes for those things, and his products are great. And if you're Elon, you want to lock up capacity as much. You want to tell all your partners, I need everything you can give me. No, by the way, I'm doing this other thing in the background for leverage and for, quite frankly, for supply.
And they are coming out of South Korea, or these are already manufactured in?
No, this is the Texas plant, the Texas fab, which 3 days ago, a Korean news outlet said that they're delayed. So I got very confused because 3 days ago it said Samsung's Taylor fab in Texas has been delayed by 6 months, and then this comes and no, and these guys came and visited and said, I want to increase the. So it seems to be good news, not bad news. They may have been delayed because of this increased request.
I'll tell you this: the Koreans will be in that factory night and day. They'll be working 3 shifts to get this thing up and going. The other thing I will tell you is there has been a gap depending on the node size of their yield performance relative to TSMC. So not only do they have to get this factory built and get it to the standards to work with Tesla and the other companies, but they've got to solve this fundamental some of these yield gaps issues that they've had. Maybe they have already, I don't know, but they have a couple of challenges they've got to work through. But this is a good sign. Elon sees greater demand for his products. He sees greater certainty in his products. And if you're Samsung, you're like, okay, it's Elon, and he's got 2 or 3 different homes for these things. So I feel good about spending the money now to get the capacity in place.
And this is what companies should be doing with Tesla to try to order capacity for humanoid robots.
Now.
Yeah.
Or order now.
No, that's you're right, Cern, 100%. I know there was a deal with, I believe, Semco on the camera side. There's deals being made, and it's for cars and bots, actually. But you're right. And my guess is not every one of these is going to be announced. If I'm an OEM, sometimes there's certain things I'll announce if they're obvious. But there's other things I may not want to announce, and that would be in the agreement between the OEM, so in this case Tesla, and the supplier. So, because here's what you don't want: this humanoid robot. If I'm in there, okay, what I wouldn't want every agreement not announced. I know my suppliers, by the way, would love that, to see a PR come out and, we're doing this big, huge deal with Tesla on Optimus, because it'd be like the premier ward to land. But if you're Tesla, you don't want your supply chain being deconstructed on the outside and somebody having that information.
No, I agree with that. I'm sorry. And I'm referring to Tesla's customers for the bot, their end customers, whether it's the Walmarts, the UPSs, FedExes of the world.
Absolutely. You're dead on. Yeah, totally.
Okay. I'm going to do a pop quiz for the 3 of you, see who can answer this question first. Okay. Who is arguably the best executive that works for Elon Musk?
Gwen.
The answer is Gwen.
I mean, it's an opinion. I mean, I agree. It's an agreeable. It's a top.
I'm
top
asking
opinion.
you, arguably the best. Yeah. So, but isn't
Lars,
it interesting?
I'm going to say Lars.
I was at Lars, at Franz, and then I thought, no, it's Gwen.
So what's good about Gwen is she's, of course, in charge of SpaceX, but isn't it amazing that she's now representing XAI because SpaceX bought XAI? So just imagine what she was able to do operating SpaceX, just incredible. So now be in charge of XAI data centers and so forth. Here she is representing XAI at the
Thank you for your leadership. Because
White
of your
House.
work on this issue, I'm confident that we will win the race with in AI with China and succeed in delivering inexpensive, abundant electricity for the American people. As you know, XAI builds huge supercomputers and data centers, and we build them fast. Currently, we're building one on the Tennessee-Mississippi state line. As part of today's commitment, we will take extensive additional steps to continue to reduce costs of electricity for our neighbors. Mr. President, we want to be on your team to deliver a big win for the American people. XAI will therefore commit to develop 1.2 gigawatts of power as our supercomputer's primary power source, and that will be for every additional data center as well. We will expand what is already the largest global megapack power installation in the world. The installation will provide enough backup power to power the city of Memphis, and more than sufficient energy to power the town of South Haven, Mississippi, where the data center resides.
Isn't she awesome? So I
Can you
can't
imagine?
wait.
Can you imagine
Yeah.
if there is a merger?
That's what I was going to say.
Golden?
I'd be very happy if there was a merger and she is somehow helping the great executives that we have in Tesla to continue. Wow.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, for Elon, you can't fault him and say that. I mean, he's built a team, and these people, his core team. I mean, they've stick with him for decades almost.
Forever.
So
Yeah, more than. She's been there, I think, since 2008.
It's a bit odd that isn't a little jarring that she was actually representing XAI. She's no longer just SpaceX.
Yeah, and
Isn't that
talking
great?
about megapacks, that is a Tesla product.
Yeah, it's happening. What do we know about the potential merger, Alexandra? Peter Diamandis said, he wrote a post and he said, there's a rumor that SpaceX is going to go public at 1.75 trillion. That's a new number, 1.75 trillion. And he said that they're going to file for IPO in March.
No.
Elon responded.
No. Confidentiality. That they are filing for.
You can explain that to everybody. But Elon replied to him and he said something positive. I can't remember, true or something like that. But basically, he's confirming.
SpaceX. Yeah, this is SpaceX. Before you IPO, there's a period of confidentiality where you're not discussing anything in public because the roadshows are finished, and you have now your set of information that is given to your big investors. And you're preparing the IPO with that set of information. And that seems to be in March. And I still think the IPO will happen on Tuesday, 9th of June, 6/9. Okay. And that is completely in the calendar of this confidentiality announcement in March. Do we know anything further? No. And so my thesis, I'll just make it very short, is that after that, 3, 4, 5 months after that, SpaceX will propose to purchase Tesla. And they will be able to do so because their valuation will be very high. And you have to understand this IPO is 50 billion, which is enormous. But compared to a valuation of 1.75 trillion, it is 3%. Okay? So they are actually giving out to the public 3% of shares. 97% of shares remain in the hands of those that have them. And by unleashing, it's a big IPO, only 3%, they probably create scarcity and bring that valuation even higher than 1.75. I have no idea whether that is the case, but that is obviously the hope. And then will come the moment to make a proposal to Tesla. Now, from this moment on, it's me speculating, right? If they do that proposal, you will look at SpaceX's valuation at that moment, you'll look at Tesla's valuation, and both shareholders of both companies will have to vote. But the new shareholders are only 3%. So when I hear people saying, but there will be all these SpaceX new shareholders, well, they will have 3% of the shares and even much less of the voting rights because SpaceX is structured with Elon having super voting rights. So if this is Elon's desire, the SpaceX vote to approve this is a forgiven yes. The question then is, how do you motivate Tesla investors to agree that? Because obviously our setup is a completely different one. We've gone now through sufficient voting cycles together. And I do believe that they would offer a premium to the Tesla share price so that Tesla shareholders would accept that. I know I'm in contradiction with Larry on this point, but then I'm not surprised because Larry is a SpaceX investor. And if I would be a SpaceX investor, I maybe would not want this either. So I'm not saying that's why he's doing it. He thinks it doesn't deserve a premium. It's a merger of two equals. I do believe that a public company that gets absorbed into a structure where you have a super voting power, even though it's Elon and I love him, that you're giving up something. So you should get something in exchange because we're actually giving up all Tesla shareholders are giving up a voting power if they get absorbed by SpaceX, which would solve so many problems. Can you imagine no more years of campaigning and making sure everybody can vote wherever, because this would just be it. But it would also mean that our influence gets reduced and the influence of institutions get reduced. I'm not so sure the vanguards, and especially the state streets, we'll get to the state streets in a couple of weeks, because we would have to do a lot of campaigning on State Street, because they will be against it. But anyway, they are losing power in this game, right? Because of the super voting power that Elon has in SpaceX. So anyway, I still think this would be a fantastic idea and would be the biggest and most audacious and most promising company in the world. And I think there are so many reasons to go for it. But so that is my theory on it.
Herbert, you got to schedule that cage match with Alexandra and Larry.
Yeah.
Make sure you invite me.
So a month ago, the going narrative was that everybody said that Tesla was going to have to buy SpaceX. That's not what's going to happen. What's happened now is if SpaceX is worth 1.75 trillion, they go IPO, trust me, they'll be worth 2 trillion more. Tesla is at 4 trillion, and everybody's saying, oh, just wait until they get the robotaxi revenue. You don't need to. If SpaceX is worth a lot more, they will buy SpaceX, will buy Tesla, because Elon wants to have his voting control of its dual share track. Plus, he will then give a premium to the Tesla shareholders and say, okay, you guys are worth a 1.2, I'll make you worth 1.6 trillion. Everybody will then agree, or most people will agree, and they'll vote yes. That seems to me what might happen, more likely to happen.
Yep. And that is one of the reasons, I know this gets very, very technical now, that the new compensation package from 2025 was with restricted stock, meaning with voting rights. So there are votes out there. And by the fact that there's more stock out there, this dilutes the votes of everybody else. Hence, there was a plan. I think if I look at everything that happened the last 2-3 years of putting stuff in place, where I thought, why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? I mean, it wasn't something that would give me a bellyache, but I still couldn't really figure it out. And I'm suddenly sitting there and I think, tick that box, tick that box, tick that box. It just makes sense from top to bottom now.
It's interesting, too. There seems to be a narrative out there that the SpaceX IPO is a negative for Tesla, right? As some Tesla shareholders will sell some of their shares and buy SpaceX and chase that valuation up.
Yeah, and it would be stupid. It would be stupid because if they sell, they will buy SpaceX at a relatively high price, right? Because IPOing at 1.75, I mean, this thing was worth beginning of the year under $1 trillion, right? This is crazy. So, but if you want to purchase it at 1.75, be my guest, and then you would purchase Tesla that you have given up, that you've had a taxable event at a premium. Oh, don't do it. Don't do it.
That's why I think it's going to happen this way. Okay. Wow. This is a power show. I always say this. What a power show. This is the panel here. Jeff Lutz, Cern Basher, and of course, Alexandra Merz. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you. Join us again next week. Bye, all.
Thanks, Herbert.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.